Welcome to Yeshiva Daf, Shir sponsored Nishmas Haim Shalom Navas Yitzchok. We're holding Basra Daf Kuf Lamet. This was a daf we learned on Shabbos, and we're just gonna review it one more time here for the recording. Zog the Mishnah. Someone says, I want somebody to Yerush me, but he has a daughter. Or I want my daughter to be Yerush me, to inherit me, when there is a boy. He didn't say anything because his master the Torah says you can redistribute your nechasim. So it depends. If it's someone who's just roy to be Yerushim, it works. If not, not. So the Gemara is going to explain the sequence of the Mishnah. But here we have Rabbi Yochanan who says there is this concept of redistributing your Yerusha. We'll see in the Gemara that means that one can pick one son out of many to be Yerusha. There's a big chakira in the Achronim. The chakira is, what is the idea of the redistribution of the Yerusha? It's really based on a machlekes and the Rishonim. The Rishonim say like this: when someone gives Yerusha to one son out of many, is the pshat that he is gifting it? The Torah gave him the ability to give it to one more than others. Or the pshat is that he's the Yerusha, the Torah said how to do it, he can divide it in a different way. The way that Achronim say it is like this: is that concept of this distribution, is it on the person? He's giving one of the sons everything, so this person gets it. Or it's on the nechasim, it's on the properties. The properties are being redistributed that way. And there's many nafkaminas. Meaning there's a lot of discussions that are standalone discussions in the Rishonim. And the Achronim say that these discussions depend on this. For example, can one give a Yerusha, can redistribute a Yerusha, l'dova shelo ba'olam? It's not here yet in the world. So if you're telling me that it's a Yerusha, you're just reapplying the Yerusha of the Torah, why not? But if you're giving it to someone, you can't give it to someone shelo ba'olam. Another example, can he change his mind? After you redistribute it, can he change his mind? If you're telling me it's a Yerusha, the same way the first Yerusha he changed, so the new redistribution he can change. But if it's a gift, he can't change it. And so on and so forth. There's many discussions with Shayim that the Chachronim want to be toilet in this Chakira. This is what Rav Aryeh Malin brings in the Sugya, just a tidbit of this concept. Says the Gemara, Taimo de'acher b'makom bas b'makom et. So now we're going to go into the Gemara. Gemara says, one second. The Mishnah says, don't give it to somebody else, or to a daughter you have sons. Right? Taimo de'acher b'makom bas b'makom ben. Ha-ben ben abonim, one son out of many. Or bas ben abonis, one daughter out of many. V'rav kayam. Then it works, right? And the look at the next part of the Mishnah. If he said I'm giving it to somebody who's roy to be Yerushem, meaning one of his sons, for Kayami, Haim Tanakama. That's exactly Tanakama. Maybe you'll tell me Rabbi Yochanan is saying that not only a son among sons or a daughter among daughters is Yerush, but even somebody else. What's somebody else? As the Rashbam, there's a long Rashbam over here. Let's just look first of all at the end of the Rashbam. Go back to the beginning of the Rashbam in a moment. It's at the beginning of the white lines. The Rashbam says, the also Yochanan ben Berekah, the third line from the top of the white lines. Im Omer al Mishur Yoyim Ulamocher Liyorshay Achash Tavud Bisoi Dvorav Kayami. The Havik of the Hashtom Yo Loichotz Liyorshay, even though now he's not really Yorish. V'im Yorli Ein Yorli Liyorshay. Right? You talk about somebody who will eventually be Yerushim, because the Mishnah says royal Yerushim. It needs to be someone who is royal to be Yerushim. So what are we talking about? Says Rashbam, somebody is not right now royal to be Yerush, but eventually will be. But look at what Rashbam says. But he's not royal to be Yerush right after. Kegoyim doida, like his uncle. The brothers come before the uncles. So what does the Rashbam say? That's what Achronim learned. The Rashbam says the whole discussion that maybe Rabbi Yochanan is coming to add saying not only a son among sons and a daughter among daughters is Yerush, but also the next level of Yerusha. His brothers, but not 2 levels of Yerusha, only 1 level. So says the Gemara, so maybe that's what Yochai is going to say. So about Tanya, the son of Yochai Bebreka said, there's no machlekes that if he gave it to somebody else but the son among sons or the daughter amongst daughter, that doesn't work. What's the machlekes? Al ben ben abonim ubas ben abanas. Only a son among the sons and a daughter amongst the daughters. All the Bechoreka says is son among the sons. So that can't be the pshat of the Mishnah. Says the Gemara, so first answer the Gemara is, we're going with the previous malach. The Mishnah says you give it to anybody. The Mishnah says in the beginning of the Mishnah, don't give it to somebody else except a son among the sons, a daughter among the daughters. Because the Yeshiva it says you can give it to anybody who's royally Yoshim. Says the Gemara, what do you mean? But Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Yeshiva, said that his father agrees he can't give it to somebody else. That's Rabbi Shmuel, the son of Yeshiva. But our Mishnah disagrees. The Yeshiva agrees you give it to other people as well. What is Chachamim saying? According to this understanding of the Mishnah, the Yeshiva is adding, he's more lenient, he allows to give it to another generation of Yerusha. What is Chachamim saying? So based on what the Gemara said till now, how do we read the first part of the Mishnah? The Mishnah said, don't give it to somebody else or to a daughter when you have sons. Not for a son among the sons or a daughter among the daughters is a good. And that's what many Rishonim learn. But this Shita, according to this understanding of the Gemara, we have here 2 Shitas we didn't mention before. You remember back, if you go back to that Chuf Chavav and base, the Mishnah there says that if a person went and changed Riba Le'echot to Mi'et Le'echot, Imam Mishum Yerushalayim HaKlom, you can't change among the sons. So there are Shitas Rabbanan say you can't change at all. Then Rabbi Yechon, according to this understanding, it says you can change not only among the sons, but also the next generation. And then you have the first sheet of our Mishnah, third sheet that says you could change among the sons. The Rashbam doesn't learn that way. Look at the beginning of the Rashbam, that we saw the end of it. Through Amatachim Eima Seifel. Rashbam says, Ta'achim Hashval Mishiroy Liyosh Achshav Le'Reben Ben... Sorry, the next one. Chitema. Chitema Polik Rabbi Yechon Alei Tanakamo, Afilu Ha'achim B'Mkom Bas. תשמין את הרקם לדחוש שלי מתניע משקוס פטויר אפילו בין בן הבונים ואז בן הבונס. The Rekama holds, you can't give it to anybody else. You can't redistribute. Kediktani Reish, like it says previous Mishnah. Kabei ribu le'echot, u'miet le'echot, shira mishum Yerusha le'emakum. The kosher can be achim makum bas. Kediktani Seifel. Of course that. Hi, so why is the Mishnah bringing me? He says, don't say achim makum bas. Nezu ve'en tzor v'nachal zu ktani. First explanation of Rashbam, the previous Mishnah and this Mishnah go together. You can't redistribute it. Not to another son, and not to a daughter in the place of a son. Okay, and then he comes to explain another explanation. So says the Gemara, so a machlekes the Rishonim and the Rashbam is that Nushita according to this mandam or not. If I say, well, there's no machlekes, Kulei Rabbi Yechon Bebreki. It's all Rabbi Yechon Bebreki in our Mishnah. The Chesurim Me'es L'Akten, that's after read the Mishnah. You say that a person will inherit me when you have a daughter. Or a daughter will inherit me when you have a son. But a daughter among the daughters, or son among the sons, that does work. Is this actually in the Mishnah or this is a diuk? I'm not so sure. We discussed it today in the Shir. That's what he had to the Mishnah, at least the Shin. This whole Mishnah is the Rebbe Breko. Rebbe Breko is the one who says that you could give it to one son among others. That's why he passed it. Which halacha like Rebbe Breko is? Look at the Rashbam. Halach Rebbe Breko could the mash for stone the mastisi. The mash of bein ben abonik yomar could the kin lay. We explained before. So this last explanation, he didn't say halacha by him even in the extreme case. Only son by a son and daughter by a daughter. the sellers of Rabbi Yochanan, Mashma Nami de Ben Berabori Kama. ולעיל נמי איך מניעו הבעיה הכי כל מרים על תינוק בן הבונים יש כל נכוס נאמון כמייך נברקר. מחלל דבר ספירות לא יפול כאילו בין בן הבונים. In other words, based on all the Gemara, says the Rashbam, when we pass כמייך נברקר, like which shita? Like כמייך נברקר that says the extreme case, even the next generation, says Rashbam, no. We pass כמייך נברקר only ben abonim. That's the only thing we pass כמייך. Says the Gemara, Omar Rava, my time the Rabbi Yochanan, what's the reason Rabbi Yochanan? What's the source? Omar Krova ya biyoy manchila es bonov. It says in the pasuk, in Malka the sons, HaTorah nasna rishus la'av lanchil l'chol mi sheyirtzeh. Ben chila, he can give to his children, he can redistribute between the children. The Mashal of the Shulchan Aruch and the Bach explains that there's no Isser B'davar. It's mutar lechatchila. One second, it says in the pasuk, don't choose someone else to be a b'chor. Actually, only b'chor you can choose, but pashut you could. And this we have here a discussion there, Akiva. When you say that you can change the b'chor, does it mean only the chelik b'chor of the b'chor, also the chelik pashut of the b'chor? The b'chor gets double, so both can change. Only the chelik b'chor. In other words, do I look at it that he's getting double? That's the b'chor, or the b'chor is he's getting one extra piece. What are you not allowed to redistribute? So when you violate, you know what you need? Look at the Tanya for the following thing. Abachor no mar mishum abelazar. Abachor says the name of abelazar. When they have kuflam and the base. Ma tomud loymar lo yuchal levakir, or according to the Bach, lo yuchal levakir ma tomud loymar. Fish remar vayam biyam mechilas bonov. It says you're allowed to redistribute all the nechasim. Shechol validinu. Could it be it's a din? The Taisus, if you look at the end of Kuf Lamed and Dalef, it says Sheyachol lo garsinan validinu. So the Bach explains you don't say Sheyachol validinu because really it's repetitive. You don't say it twice. Mashal has a din of pshat, and the Bach doesn't like the pshat of Mashal, and the Mashal addresses this as well. So it's just a loshen. It says Sheyachol validinu. Uma pashut, a regular kid, not a b'chor. Sheyachol koycha shrat beroikim v'muchsok. He takes and he takes even something that is not right now present. Like something which is present under the hands of the father. There, the father can redistribute the nechasim. Bechor that he's inferior. He doesn't take roy. Of course, what? He will be able, the father will be able to redistribute the nechasim. That's it, say you can't do b'choro. Mashu, the other kids you could do. If a b'chor was inferior, doesn't take roy. Still, he has he's in a better situation. He does take something which is not here. So the Gemara says really you need both. If it says lo yuchal levakir, if you want to say lo yuchal levakir, I would think the b'chor you can also redistribute. That says lo yuchal levakir. It says lo yuchal levakir, I would think you can even the pash should redistribute. That's why it says b'yom mechila es banav. It says twice why you need both. Don't say neither. Don't say none of them. And I would know that you the pash as Toys asks. According to Rabbanon, it says, according to Rabbanon, you can't do it. The question is, according to Rabbanon, that says you can't do it. So the Gemara is asking, according to Rabbanon, says, why you need both psukim? Don't say anything. I know I can't change it. It says, without psukim, I would say that the b'chor, you can't. Why not? Because the b'chor, I would say the b'chor you can. Why? Because the b'chor is inferior. It's only roy. So I'm saying the post it says lo yuchal levakir. Now I said lo yuchal levakir. You have to say b'yom mechila es banav. Says the Gemara, Omar Zveiko Mavami Omavchrina again Omarav Omarebi Halocha Rabbi Yochanan ben Breko. And here the Bach adds that we're missing year one in the list because we said Omar Zveiko Mavami Omavchrina, and then we said Omar Rebbe. Omavchrina did not see Rebbe. So who saw Rebbe? Rabbi Yana. You're missing one in the list. Omar Mavami Omavchrina Omar Yana Omar Rebbe. Halacha Rabbi Yochanan ben Breko. You pass like Rabbi Yochanan ben Breko. Only Rabbi Abba Hoyu. Only Rabbi Abba Hoyu itva. Didn't say halacha Hoyu. He said Hoyu. What's Hoyu? Halacha l'maaseh. Someone asks a question, why is he still halacha? The Ma'akim Miflekes, what's the machlekes? My sovar halacha adifa or my sovar ma'aserav. One holds halacha is better, the other one says no, ma'aseh is better. Why not? What's the difference? What's the machlekes? So Rashbam explains very clearly. The Mandar says halacha adifa says Rashbam shepoisik halacha lasois ken. You say halacha. Avla ki amrin no iroi kilememer de tor haroye. The shema isadim lo nifsek avyoch bebreka di tanot achiroit zikar tanechosim lechol min aboni. Meaning, I don't know exactly the reasoning of the case. That's what we have many times throughout Shas. We have la befiru shitvar elo michlol hitvar. Right? I don't know. It's a maises. I don't know exactly what was his reasoning. The other one though says maiserav. What's try? Look at next Rashbam. Umaso maiserav kishemoyim laasois maaseh as ish liusmoy laasoisu. When you have a maaseh, you can do it. But kishoymer loch keploini tzoyim chilasus ken at sheyoyim ru aloch lemaaseh kedel kamon. Maybe he said dech limudo. Aval im ba maaseh leado emedaktik yoiser. Meaning, sometimes a person learns, when he's learning, he says halacha. But to call the ma'aseh is only when someone asks this question. And this, the Chazosei points out, that a lot of times within the learning, to be mechad the talmidim, you say halacha like this, halacha like this. Doesn't mean halacha l'ma'aseh. L'ma'aseh, that's when you say they write halacha. So the question is, why do you pass halacha? When you hear halacha, or when you hear halacha l'ma'aseh? You don't hear from Talmud. What's Talmud? The Rashbam learns, Loipi Talmud means what we just said now, meaning from your Rebbe. But when you're learning, the other Rishonim bring, Loipi Talmud means based on what says in the Gemara, meaning the first generation of the Gemara. He asked, don't compare, don't learn from there to something else. What do you mean? The whole Torah you learn. Says the Rashbam, like Shlomo HaMelech more than everything says. How do you learn Torah? How do you know halachas today of modern technology based on comparison? By treifus, treifus means when you want to compare the guy with treifus, one makes a behem or treifus, what doesn't. The Tanya in the room with treifus zudim alazu, bal titma. You kill the animal from one place, she dies. You kill someone else, she's alive. So you can't compare. The Rashbam speaks about Soyme Sagidim, where the sinews get together in the knee. Torah says it's two different limbs, the spleen and the liver. One can kill the animal, one can't. Don't compare one to another. Have you told us halacha? Should we just follow you? Don't do it until I tell you it's a ma'aseh. When my psak comes in front of you, you have a question on it. Don't tear it until you come in front of me. Here's the time. If I have a good reason, I'll tell you. I'll change my mind. Don't tear it. Don't learn from it either. Why? Don't tear it because maybe I would have a reason for you. And don't also learn from it because you have to pass halacha based on what you say. Here the poskim discuss what is the case over here. What's the case that he's talking about? Are we talking about the rule of paskin halacha and they want to learn from his psak? Some want to say no, it's not from psak halacha. It's mature that they send him. They sent him a question, he answered them. So therefore, but if he actually paskin that, so maybe the din will be a little different. Just to mention that the Rashbam and many other Rishonim say, that's all we say, don't paskin and don't say, it's only if it doesn't say halacha in the Gemara. Even halacha in the Mishnah, don't paskin. Look at the Lashon Rashbam. The Rashbam says, he brings he says, one line below that he says, and he says, you don't learn from the Mishnah. Then skip a few lines down. And he says the following. He says, when it says, he says, right above that, you have to rely on it. Gemara you do paskin like. Gemara you do paskin like, even though before, maybe you don't. Okay, just to end, that there is a big discussion that we have in the Poskim, learning from here to Rabbanis, because all the Tshuvas firms speak about does a Rabbanis pass in Yerusha. And the Chassidus has very famous two Tshuvas about it, learning from Moshe Rabbeinu, and the bottom line is that many agree that the Rabbanis does pass by Yerusha. But if the father says, I want to give it not to my oldest son, I want to give it to the second son, is that considered to be B'yoyim and Chilus Banav? Or not? Is it the same because you could choose between the sons, or here it's down the same type of Yerusha? This is many Tshuvas written in the Chassidus Sefer, and Rekiv Hager, and Yavavdi Nizer, long Tshuvas about it, because this is one of the big discussions that went throughout the generations, what's called Yerusha in Rabbanos. Have a wonderful week, a good vach.